Google pioneered artificial intelligence and machine learning on smartphones, but over time, some folk felt like they got complacent. Aging camera hardware on Pixel phones was seemingly taking a backseat to computational photography mated to higher quality optics on competing devices, and it began to feel like Google's devices were more
Hi honey, I'm home.
than
I'll be back.
more than, but not anymore. Google has invested in its own silicon, the new brains behind the new Pixel Bronze, the Tensor chip. I've had both devices for about a week now, testing all the things, the AI, the ML, lifestyle features, and I'm gonna take all the results of that test and distill it down into my review for you. Tonight, I'm at Halloween in Los Angeles so I can test the low light capabilities of these cameras' lenses. So I'm gonna go run through a bunch of these haunted houses, take a ton of low light photos so I can do that, and then I'll bring that all to you after the intro. Let's get into it. There is so much to talk about in this year's Pixel devices. Let's begin with Tensor and all that it enables. Captain Picard has computer. Tony Stark has Jarvis and Ultron and Vision. You now have Google's first in-house system on chip, Tensor. Google realized that in order to remain relevant now and in the future, they needed to control both the software and hardware on their smartphones. So the 6 series isn't an evolution in Pixel devices, it is a revolutionary step for Mountain View, enabling previously unattainable experiences on device. Meaning, for some experiences, you don't need to be connected to use the tech. Sorry, Skynet. One theoretical benefit to this is offloading processor and network radio intensive tasks to increase battery life. But how well does that actually work in real life? Hey Google, be my translator.
All right, what language do you want translated?
Hindi.
Sure, Hindi. Let's start.
I'm here with fellow Android contributor Shruti Shaker, who speaks Hindi and English. Shruti, you saw Google's presentation when they interviewed Marie Kondo. She was pretty wild. How do you think this experience holds up when my English is read back to you in Hindi? How accurate is it, thought for thought? Let's
क्या आपको लगता है कि यह अनुभव तब तक बना रहता है जब मेरी अंग्रेजी और हिंदी में आपको वापस पढ़ा जाता है? यह कितना सटीक है? विचार के लिए सोचा?
एकदम ठीक है, एकदम मेरी दिमाग तो बहुत ओह माय गॉड बात ही नहीं कर जवाब नहीं आते हैं मैं क्या बोलूं ये गूगल ट्रांसलेट एकदम परफेक्ट है.
It's all right. My brain can't talk so much, oh my god.
Okay, it stopped because you paused. So what we see is when there are pauses. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay. This is a live test. This is a real world test to see kind of how well this works. Now, that was in auto mode. So you can resolve that pausing issue by switching to manual mode, where each speaker or you just press the microphone button and control each side of the conversation that way. I've also tried this with coworkers who speak Tagalog, Hebrew, Spanish, Japanese, and everyone's jaw dropped at just how accurate the translations were. That isn't to say that they're perfect. Alex Doby tried it with Chinese and experienced that live translate can be tripped up by the way pronouns work in that language. In spoken Chinese, he, she, and it are the same sound but different characters. Live translate often wasn't able to figure out from context when the subject was female, leading to some broken English translations. That's the kind of thing you'd expect machine learning to be able to figure out. But for the few people I tested this with, the overall translations they said were the best they've seen or heard of this kind. And voice typing now translates some things as well. You can insert taco emoji. T-S-H-A-K-A. Clear. That's right. you can insert taco emojis with your voice. As you saw, I can also clear text and spell out names like my own, which any voice assistant is going to have some issues with. So, what else did Google show off? Those cameras, photo and video voodoo. Finally, better hardware supported by Google's AI and ML. Google made a big deal of its advances in photo algorithms for users with darker skin. It doesn't make me yet forget some search missteps in the past where algorithms have mistaken people who look like me for animals, but this is a major step in the right direction. Realtone adds camera tuning, whose databases have been greatly expanded with portraits of people of color to improve auto white balance and auto exposure algorithms so people who look like me, both lighter and darker, don't look ashy or like Hershey's bars when we take photos in less than perfect conditions. In these photos I took of my mans, the Jamaican Jedi, you can see in the Pixel 5 images that our browns are both oversaturated. And those aren't even our skin tones. Trevor is actually darker skinned than I am, so his brown in the 5 is actually inaccurate. This is the Hershey bar effect. In the Pixel 6 photos, all this delicious chocolate is more accurately represented. Both sets of photos taken in harsh conditions with some direct cloudless skies, sunlight in our faces and backlighting us. Realtone definitely appears to make a difference, and I am definitely looking forward to testing this more thoroughly. And oh, I have some ideas on how to do that. Construction site noise, speech enhancement off. And then there's the selfie video only speech enhancement feature. Now with speech enhancement on, one of the cool things is the AI actually reads your lips so that it knows what you're saying and can separate your audio from the background audio, especially if you also have like people around you, talking around you. Maybe you're in a stadium. And here we go, same busy street, speech enhancement off. This is with speech enhancement off. So, still plenty of noise. There is a definite difference here. Another one of those new camera features you saw at the top of this video, their new 4K HDR net technology, which is supposed to improve 4K video. Your thoughts? Here are some more video samples from that night. I captured content with the Pixel 6 and Pixel 5 since many of the performance improvements Google cited were in comparison to the previous Gen 4a, 5G, and 5. Don't worry, we'll have some competing phone battles for you soon. This video would be like an hour long if we did all of that here in one place. And while I was Hantaweening, one of my other Android Central colleagues, Ara Wagner, was experiencing Disney World in the best way possible, with the park closed and all to herself. Just kidding. That's Magic Eraser, another feature Google touted at the Pixel launch event. Here's a time-lapse screen record of her erasing other park visitors with ease. It took a little over 90 seconds for her to clean up that image, with Google accurately suggesting people behind her to erase. I have to say that the feature is rather nice. I took this picture of a baseball diamond, one of the symbols of America's pastime. It had dumpsters in front of it. Do I want dumpsters representing America as well? Nope. But unlike any of our social or political issues and dumpster fires, I can actually easily erase these ones. And it actually looks pretty good. God bless America. And Tiny Tim. Staying outside and parkside, I employed my sons to help me show off video stabilization and slo-mo compared to the Pixel 5. Frankly, I was no fan of the Pixel 5's video functionality compared to the competition, but as you can see in these videos, shot at 1080p for both slo-mo and the running video, the video quality is much better. Improved by having a wider angle lens on the 6, but the overall video quality is so much more usable than it was on the 5. And the active stabilization is phenomenal. There are some issues in the upper part of the video, but again, overall, the difference between devices is noteworthy. And last but not least in the video department is the squirrel test. Compliments of Alex Doby. This video was taken with the telephoto lens on the 6 Pro. It's nuts how good this is and how solid the autofocus is as well. Pun definitely intended. Now, what about autofocus at extreme distances? Let's talk about the Pixel 6 Pro's 4x optical zoom lens and the super res zoom, which I tested at 10x and 20x with those cranes way in the back of this photo here. For comparison, I took the same photos with the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, which has a strong 20x zoom. Yeah, I said strong. And it even goes up to 50x with images being surprisingly solid at that zoom. In these shots though, I actually liked the Pixel 6 Pro's 10 and 20x zoom images more. The Note 20 Ultra's photos were nothing to sneeze at, but for the sake of comparison, Pixel 6 Pro wins. Though, to be fair, I didn't have an S21 Ultra to test against, but Alex did. Here are the images he captured compared to the Galaxy S21 Ultra at 20x. The Pixel's images looked a bit more like watercolors. And then there's the macro mode, which is achieved through the telephoto lens on the Pixel 6 Pro. I tested this against the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and the results were very promising. Taking handheld macros in and of itself is an art form. Flowers shaking in the wind can make it difficult, along with having shaky hands. One thing I learned is that each tech has its advantages and disadvantages. iPhone uses the ultra-wide camera, so you get wider shots, but you have to get as close as 2 centimeters away from your subject, and that can place shadows in your shot. Using the telephoto lens on the Pixel 6 Pro allows me to get far enough away from the subject to avoid casting shadows, and in this case, from getting stung. And then there's the actual photo quality. When you zoom in on this bee, which was inside the flower, in shadow, you see really good detail. And taking pictures of possibly my favorite piece of tech that I own, my Logitech MX Master 3. That made me realize I needed to clean it. It was nasty. And I did. In this case, the Pixel's macro was sharper, revealing more of my mouse filth, and I liked the color rendering more. And let's throw in some astrophotography comparison between the 5 and 6. Though the Pixel 6 cameras have the ability to take in more light, I found the Astros to be hit or miss between the two. I need more testing time, but initially I can't say there's a huge difference between the two on this cloudy night with a decent amount of light pollution. And while we may not have had Jeff Bezos sponsor our look at the stars, we're fortunate to have people like the fine folks at Mobile sponsor this look at the Pixel series. Here comes the commercial. But wait. You're going to want to watch because this Yankee is going to deliver it with a perfect British accent. Sponsored by Mobile.
Everyone knows smartphones can be expensive, but here's the thing nobody tells you. You can afford the latest phone if you're smart enough to save on your phone bill. With Mobile, you never pay for more than what you use, and what you use is totally up to you. With Tello, you're in complete control, so you get to build your own plan and add minutes and data as you like. Popular options include unlimited talk and text plus 1GB for $10 a month, 4GB for $19 a month, and 8GB for $29 a month with no annoying fees. Tello works on 4G LTE and 5G nationwide in the US, plus every plan includes hotspot and comes with free international calls to more than 60 countries. Basically what Tello's saying is anything your carrier can do, we can do better and a lot cheaper. That means no contract, great website, pay-as-you-go payment, and real human customer service. And when you find the smartphone of your dreams, you can bring it to Tello while keeping your number. Get more for less with Tello Mobile, and use those extra savings to finally get your hands on the phone you really want.
Every time I do that accent, I impress myself. You know what else is impressive? The user experience with the Pixel devices. You know, those subjective tidbits which make you wind up either with buyer's remorse or glad you purchased. Well, the phone has broad 5G support, so I tested speeds at mid-band and millimeter wave tower locations on T-Mobile's 5G UC network. I was pulling down up to 700 megabits per second with mid-band towers, which I found in Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley are fairly plentiful. With the millimeter wave towers, I don't know what was going on because when I hit some locations, I was only getting around 300 megabits per second. I'll have to do some more digging on that one. Then there's battery life. From the larger 5003 milliamp hour battery of this Pixel 6 Pro, my battery life got better the longer I had it. It is capable of 30 watt fast charging speeds wired and 23 watts fast charging wirelessly. I used the Pixel 6 Pro more during this week than I have the Pixel 6. Day one, I hammered this phone and got around 12 hours, but that's with me heavily using Slack back channel, installing all kinds of apps, heavier than normal usage, and clearly some optimizations lacking. That's also with 5.5 hours screen on time. But as time went on and my usage normalized, I was seeing 18 hours used with almost 5 hours screen on time and 11% left, saying that I had like 2 hours of battery. And then there's the infamous flat back test. Yes, the camera bump is noticeable on both devices, but when I first saw it, I took to Twitter with my own Geordie LaForge meme. In real world use though, the module spanning the entire back of the phone actually makes it so that it doesn't rock. Well played, Google. And when using Google's case on the 6 Pro, the camera bump is minimized even further. There are some downsides to these phones though. I wish the screen was brighter in direct sunlight. Speaking of direct sunlight, the fingerprint scanner worked darn near flawlessly for me indoors and in anything but direct sunlight. Frankly, it became a mess in direct sunlight, even erroring out here and there from too many failed attempts. On the upside though, the HDR Plus OLED panel on this phone is magnificent for watching content. Looking at The Witcher and my test scenes in Season 1, Episode 4, when Yassier is in the shadows, there's no noise in the blacks when he stands in the shadows. His skin tone, clothes are nuanced and visible. This actually handled these black areas better than the iPhone 13 Pro Max's display, in my opinion. Comparing it to the Pixel 6, the Pro had better dynamic range in the darker areas of the image, which is to be expected given the difference in display resolution. The 6 Pro has a higher resolution display, QHD+, while the 6 is only Full HD+. There is a definite difference in these two panels in this instance. In other areas, not so much. The sound was plenty audible, plenty loud from either device. Listening to music and other content directly from the stereo speakers is a joy, but if you want more from your music beyond Bluetooth listening, you still aren't going to get bit perfect audio out of this USB-C port without having to use a third-party app. Back to those displays again for a couple quick notes. The Pixel 6 has a 90 Hz refresh rate, while the Pixel 6 Pro is 120 Hz. The visual difference in smoothness between the two is negligible, and both displays navigating the menus and bouncing between apps is whipped butter. Even with the Pixel 6 Pro having more memory at 12 gigabytes compared to the 8 gigabytes of the 6. The front of the phones see some differences as well. The 6 Pro has a higher megapixel count on the front-facing camera, and it's wider than the 6, but both phones take solid photos from that front-facing camera. A portion of the excitement for these devices is the cumulative effect of Material U and Android 12 having launched just ahead of the Pixel devices. Love it or hate it, the larger design elements and color palette are a delight to me. The privacy features in the new privacy and security dashboards are a welcome addition, though they don't get quite as granular as some competing OSs. If you don't want to be tracked across apps, for example, you'll have to go elsewhere to access that functionality. But the more novel aspects of the OS, like the ability to color match UI elements to your wallpaper, are fun. The new widgets menu, along with some of those new widgets, are smart and well thought out, though I'm sure you all have some well thought out things to say about some of those widgets. Again, love them or hate them. And at the heart of it all, evoking strong emotions either way shows that Google did anything but keep it safe and avoid taking risks this year. These phones and everything that comes along with them are a big deal. And while I think the price point to feature set will probably see the Pixel 6 with more sales than the Pixel 6 Pro, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these phones. Personally for me, the 6 Pro is my phone of choice here for the larger battery, the higher res LTPO display, and that telephoto lens. Though I do like this colorway of the 6 much more than the cloudy white 6 Pro, but that's what cases are for. More importantly, these phones, though not necessarily good for Qualcomm's business, are good for our business, the business of consumer choice. They're a sea change for Google, and in this case, it's hard to come to any other conclusion than a rising tide raises all ships. Before I wrap this up, I want to thank the Android Central team, many of whom I've already mentioned, along with Nicholas Sutrit. And thank Google for sending along the 6 Pro as a part of the TeamPixel program so I could put it through its paces and tell you all about what I did and didn't like. I'm Tshaka Armstrong for Android Central. If anything you've seen in this video has helped you, illuminated things for you, please hit that thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload the latest videos. Thank you. I don't take it lightly that you took your time to watch this deep dive with us. I'll catch you on the next video.